Hi! Welcome to Art with Miss Winters. Today we're learning how to carve lino. Okay, here are the materials and equipment you're going to need to carve your lino. First of all, you're going to need your lino block that's already been cut to size with your design drawn on it in permanent marker. Then you're going to need a nice sturdy surface that is fairly rough, not too nice, so that if it gets a little bit damaged, it's okay, like this one here. On top of this surface, you're going to need also a work surface as well, something possibly like a bench hook here, a cutting mat, or a piece of corrugated cardboard, thick cardboard to work on. On top of that, you're going to need your 3 lino carving tools, and possibly you might need an iron and just a piece of cloth or a rag. Now we're going to look at how to use your bench hook properly. Here we go. So here's the bench hook we're using right here. We need to, the whole point of it is to place it on your bench so that this surface hooks squarely onto the edge of the bench. And your piece of lino goes squarely into this corner so that when you apply pressure this way with your lino carving tool, that your lino doesn't move at all because it's being hooked here at the edge of the bench and it's being hooked there, it can't move anywhere. A lino block can be really hard to carve, especially if it's cold. When a lino block is warmer, it softens, the lino softens, and therefore it makes it easy to carve. There are a couple of ways that you can soften your lino. One is with an iron, so putting your lino down on your workspace, if you have that fabric, popping that fabric over the top, just to make sure that the lino doesn't get damaged and your iron doesn't get damaged. Have your iron on a low heat. You want to make it fairly low, not too hot. And plug it in. And then you're ready to give your lino a quick iron. Please be careful of your hands because you don't want to burn yourself. So maybe even just take one hand away and go over your lino a little bit. Stand your iron up. Just feel if it's nice and warm enough. Alternatively, if you don't have an iron or you don't have someone who can help you with an iron, you can place your lino on a chair, on the seat of the chair, and then sit on top of it for about 5 to 10 minutes. This will also soften the lino just a little bit, ready for you to start carving. Remember that the areas that you're meant to be carving on your lino block are the areas around the permanent marker. So all this kind of blue area, you'll need to carve. So this is a lot of area to carve. So we want to think about maybe putting in some patterns and textures, and it would really help to plan those patterns and textures out beforehand. This is of course unless you're doing reduction cut lino, and then things get a lot trickier. But hopefully you're just doing one cut, one color today. In your pack of lino carving tools, you'll have 3 tools, and they're all a little bit different. I'll try and see if I can show you here. Here we go. This is what they look like on the edge. Okay, so the first tool you're going to have is the big V. See, it's got a V shape at the end of it. and it's a larger V than the other smaller V. This big V will do nice, bold and thick and deep lines. So it's pretty good to use this one. But you don't want to cut out large areas with this tool, because that means you'll cut through the lino, and you never want to cut through the lino and make a hole. The lino actually doesn't have to be cut too deep, you'll find, just a little bit. The next tool we have is the small V. Kind of hopefully see it there, that small V. That small V will do thinner lines and kind of small details. So yeah, that'll be good to make kind of patterns and textures, and also if you have tiny little areas to cut out, this is a good one. The last tool you have here is the U-shaped tool. I don't like to use the U-shaped tool by itself generally, but some people do. I think the U-shaped tool is really handy to carve out bigger areas on your lino, because it can kind of scoop a lot of lino away without cutting too deep if you use it correctly. So what I would do when I'm carving out a bigger area of my lino is to use this big V tool and kind of outline the area that I want to carve. Then I'll come along with the U-shaped tool and I'll scoop from one side of that line to the other, or from that line outwards to the edge of the lino. Let's talk about how you hold the lino tool. So that's really important too, in order to prevent accidents. I've seen people hold lino carving tools in lots of different ways, which can be very dangerous. And I'll show you the best kind of way to hold a lino carving tool. So you're going to be more effective if you hold this lino carving tool, if this is the surface of your lino, at a slight angle like that. All right, so fairly close to the lino, but not too high, because you're just gonna, I don't know what you're gonna do there. You're not gonna really do very well, and not too low either, because you're not gonna it's just gonna skid off the surface. So you want a nice kind of angle at the side. You want to be holding your lino carving tool like this in your hand. So you see how I'm just holding like this, then I curl my fingers over and I use my top finger to kind of hold the tool down and apply pressure downwards. Sometimes I, accidentally go on here, but it's best if we stay up here. And so that's how you hold your lino carving tool. When you're carving, it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be hard to carve. You shouldn't be kind of needing to rock to make your cut. If you're doing that, you need to warm it a bit more. It should be easy to carve and kind of you should be able to glide through if you're slow and steady. Yeah, so be patient, because lino carving really needs you to be patient, and you should be able to glide like that. Safety is really, really important when working with lino, because you can get hurt very easily, and it's really, really painful, and you can get really, really hurt actually. So you're going to be very careful at all times. So here's some really important things. If you have a bench hook, use a bench hook. Always use the bench hook, because it will help prevent accidents. Always make sure that you're carving kind of by yourself in an area. Don't have anyone too close, like opposite you or next to you, because you run the risk of accidentally cutting them, which wouldn't be good. Remember always, like I said, to warm or to soften the lino, because that will mean that it will be a lot safer, because when the lino is warm, you'll be able to cut it easier and you won't slip and skid off the surface, and that's when you'll really kind of accidentally cut yourself. But the number one rule is to always cut away from yourself. Always cut away from your body. Always cut away from your hands. And always make sure that your fingers are not in the way of that cutting either. So, for example, if I'm cutting here, I don't have a bench hook for this cutting mat, so I kind of need to hold my lino down. That's fine, but when I'm carving, I don't want to carve I definitely don't want to carve directly into my hand, and I don't want to be carving kind of anywhere near my hand there. So what I always make sure is that I'm carving in the direction away and off in front of me like that. And I want to make sure that where I'm holding the lino is behind where I'm going to start my cut. So that if I skid, which is very likely, I won't skid off and into my hand. And I need to make sure I'm doing that constantly. I need to be really aware of it. It helps if someone's kind of watching me sometimes from afar, like a teacher. But if I'm by myself, I really want to be careful about that. And that's it, guys. Thanks for joining me. Catch you next time.